Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through key sources to pull out the essential knowledge you need, nice and quick. Today, we're sort of putting on our psychological detective hats. We're diving into that hidden language, the body's signals, trying to figure out what people are really thinking, even when they're, well, trying really hard to lie.
Yeah. And our sources for this deep dive, they're all focused on nonverbal communication behavioral analysis, and that field historically called kinesics.
Kinesics, right.
Our mission here is pretty specific. Unpack the most actionable, the most memorable insights. Stuff that helps you tell the difference between, say, an unconscious signal and deliberate deception. We want you walking away really knowing your stuff.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then.
Yeah.
Because when people say body language, I think they mostly picture like hand gestures or crossing your arms.
That's usually what comes to mind first, yeah.
But the sources define this field, kinesics, much more broadly, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We have to. Kinesics covers, well, everything that isn't the actual words or physical touch. So facial expressions, gestures, eye movements, posture, the whole lot.
Got it.
It's one of the three main ways we interact socially. And, what's really fascinating is how these signals can genuinely express emotion, or they can be used quite deliberately to manipulate others.
And that's the trick,
Yeah.
right? Telling the difference.
Yeah.
Is it involuntary, showing how they really feel, or is it, voluntary, like they're putting on an act?
Exactly. That distinction. It's crucial for everything we're going to talk about.
Okay, but before we jump into the body itself,
Yeah.
maybe we should pause on the voice.
Yeah.
Because that's often the first layer, isn't it? Especially if you're not face-to-face, like on a call. Paraverbal communication, I think they call it.
That's the term. And you're right. When you can't see someone, the voice carries so much weight. Take volume, for instance. You might hear someone get loud and immediately think, oh, they're angry. But the material suggests it's often more about nervousness or maybe irritation, even just being tired or feeling unwell.
So shouting isn't always aggression.
Not always. It might be perceived as aggressive, sure, but it could just as easily mean they feel offended or simply overwhelmed by the situation.
Okay, and what about speed? I know sometimes I talk fast when I get excited, but what does that signal to the listener?
Well, it could signal panic, maybe selfishness, like you're rushing to get your point across, or maybe you just want to move on quickly. But the key thing is the listener often feels undervalued because they can't quite process everything fast enough. Just slowing down a bit, that shows respect. It helps them actually take in what you're saying.
That makes a lot of sense. Speed equals disrespect almost, which probably triggers a negative reaction in them too. Okay, so what about pitch and tone? They kind of go together, don't they?
They're totally intertwined when it comes to emotion. Pitch, how high or low the voice is, that varies a lot with attitude and stress. If someone's pitch suddenly jumps up, they're likely feeling pressure.
Right.
And tone, well, that's the emotional color, isn't it? You hear a professional tone, you think, okay, diplomacy, knowledge. But an angry tone, doesn't matter what the words are, you immediately assume they're upset.
The sources mention listening to public figures, people known for their conviction, like Kofi Annan or leaders like Obama or Theresa May, to really appreciate how their voice, the rhythm and tone, becomes part of their identity, their authority. That's quite a powerful insight into paraverbal cues.
It really is. But wait, before we move on, we absolutely have to nail down the most important rule, the one that honestly underpins everything else: context. Context is essential. Meaning, nonverbal communication is everywhere, yes. But what it means is rarely universal. You have to look at the situation.
So a smile isn't always just happy.
Exactly. A smile can be a genuine hello or happiness, sure, but it can also be a mask for feeling really uncomfortable or embarrassed. You just have to read it in context.
And that includes culture, right? The sources really stress that.
Hugely important. Cultural differences are massive. The classic example is the thumbs up. In the U.S., it's positive, right? Good job.
Yeah.
But in Brazil or Mexico, it's a serious insult. So without that cultural awareness, you're basically flying blind, misinterpreting cues left and right.
Okay, that's a really crucial warning, especially as we get into maybe the most complex part, the face. It's the first place we look, so I guess it's also the first place we learn to lie.
Absolutely. The face is the quickest clue to what's going on inside, but we humans were highly motivated to mask those feelings. Because of ego or just not wanting to deal with negative emotions or that weird desire to please people by hiding the truth.
Like thinking what they don't know won't hurt them?
Something like that. One study mentioned in our sources found, get this, 63% of participants actively tried to hide their true feelings in a given situation.
Wow, 63%.
It suggests we're almost like hardwired to try and cover up.
That sounds tricky. If we want to actually read people accurately, I appreciate that the material gives that stark warning right up front.
Yeah.
Anyone claiming they can read body language with more than 50% accuracy, probably wrong.
It's a healthy dose of skepticism, isn't it? And interestingly, the sources suggest awareness of our own body language is often more productive than constantly trying to judge others.
So it's more about spotting the cracks in their facade when they're trying to fake it.
Exactly. And the sources give us specific signs to look for when someone's faking it. For example, watch for sudden, deep breathing. That's often a conscious effort to calm down to regain composure.
Ah, okay. And spotting a fake smile, this is a good one. The sources say a real smile isn't just the lips widening. It involves those little muscles around the eyes.
The orbicularis oculi, yep.
Right. The ones you can't really control consciously. They make those little crinkles at the corners.
Yeah.
If you don't see those, you're looking at a forced kind of Hollywood smile.
That's a fantastic takeaway. Very practical. We also look for subtler signs of discomfort caused by the effort of faking. Like someone struggling to support their head, almost like the fake expression feels physically heavy.
Heavy.
Or
Or maybe masking sadness.
could be. Also, inconsistent relaxation in the face. If they relax for a split second and then immediately tense up again, something's usually up.
And my personal favorite from the list, silent lip movements.
Ah, yes, talking to themselves.
Like they're literally coaching themselves. Okay, calm down, you got this. It's this little involuntary self-pep talk leaking out.
So telling. Okay, next up, the eyes. Windows to the soul, as they say, but also windows into how we retrieve memories. And the crucial first step here is baselining.
Right, baselining. Just so everyone's clear, that means asking totally neutral questions first, doesn't it? Like about hobbies or the weather, stuff that's not threatening.
Exactly. To see what their normal eye behavior looks like when they're relaxed and telling the truth.
Only then can you spot the deviations, the red flags.
Precisely. And one major flag is eye blocking. That could be rapid blinking or actually rubbing the eyes.
The source said a great anecdote for this. Someone on a date talking about hating divorce.
While their date, who was a divorced single parent, was unconsciously rubbing their eyes,
Yeah.
eye blocking signals feeling threatened, maybe repulsed, or just having this deep, innate disagreement with what's being said. Squinting can signal dislike too.
Okay, now the really specific stuff. Eye position analysis. Used a lot in interviews, interrogations, apparently, for spotting lies.
Yes, this takes concentration, but it's very actionable. The general finding is when someone accesses a stored memory, a real memory, their eyes often move up and to their left, which is your right if you're facing them.
Okay, their left, my right. Got it.
But if they're constructing something, making it up, like a lie, the movement often shifts up and to their right, which is the listener's left.
Up and right for constructing,
Yeah.
making stuff up. Okay, and there were other positions too. Lower down.
Yeah, glancing lower left often indicates internal dialogue. They're talking to themselves inside their head. Glancing lower right, that usually means they're accessing a feeling, remembering a sensation connected to the question. It's like a little map to their internal processing.
Wow, that feels incredibly detailed.
It is, and it brings us to a really fundamental rule, especially when signals get mixed.
What's that?
When the nonverbal facial cues contradict what they're saying, like you see clear anxiety, but they're saying, oh, I'm perfectly happy, you always trust the negative emotion. Default to that as the more honest signal.
Always trust the negative. Why is that more reliable?
Because that initial flash of negativity, the anxiety, the fear, the sadness, that's usually the genuine involuntary response. We are incredibly well practiced at quickly masking that with a more socially acceptable look, like a smile or a calm expression.
So the mask goes up fast, but that first flicker, that's the truth leaking out.
That's the theory, and it holds up remarkably well. The initial negative reaction is usually the accurate one.
That is powerful. Okay, let's shift focus now from just the face to the whole body and how we use space. Proxemics, I think, was the term Edward T. Hall's work.
That's right, proxemics. It's all about the distance we keep between ourselves and others and what that distance signals about the relationship dynamic.
Hall mapped out different zones, didn't he? Horizontal distances.
He did. 4 key ones. First is intimate distance, that's 0 to about 18 inches. Touching distance, basically. Reserved for partners, parents, and young children, very close relationships.
Okay, inside 18 inches is intimate. What's next?
Personal distance. That's roughly 18 inches out to about 5 feet. This is our personal bubble, for
Yeah.
comfortable friends, family members we're relaxed with.
Right, the bubble. So if someone you don't know well keeps stepping into that zone.
It feels like an invasion, doesn't it? It signals either a desire for more intimacy, maybe unwanted, or just a lack of respect for personal boundaries.
Makes sense. Beyond that.
Social distance. That's about 5 to 10 feet. This is the space we usually maintain with strangers, or in more formal interactions, like in an office or meeting new people.
Okay, and the last one.
Public distance.
Mhm.
Anything beyond 12 feet, really. This is for addressing larger groups. Think lectures, performances, public speaking. You need that space.
And it's not just horizontal space, right? Vertical space matters too. Height dynamics.
Absolutely. Making yourself seem taller, straightening up, standing on something slightly elevated that tends to suggest authority or dominance. Conversely, making yourself smaller, like pulling your chin in, looking down slightly, that can signal submissiveness, or sometimes it's how adults talk to children.
So eye level is the most respectful position.
Generally, yes. It signals equality and directness.
Okay, let's look at posture and gestures now. We all know the cliche about crossing arms means defensiveness.
Yeah.
But the sources dig into why it feels that way, right?
Exactly. It's a literal barrier. You're closing off your torso, your vital organs. It signals a lack of openness, a kind of psychological shield.
And leaning towards someone.
Usually shows comfort, liking, engagement. You're moving into their space slightly. Leaning away does the opposite, signals discomfort, disagreement, maybe a desire to end the conversation.
What about shoulders? Any tells there.
Oh, yeah. Hunched shoulders can mean feeling cold, obviously, but also maybe aloof or withdrawn. Shoulders curved forward, that's more defensive, like feeling threatened.
Push back.
Pushed back exposes the torso more. That can be a power display, almost like taunting or showing confidence. And a simple shoulder shrug universally means uncertainty or, I don't know, or maybe I don't care.
Okay, let's talk about hands. Hands and honesty seem linked in the sources.
Very much so. Open palms, showing your hands freely, that tends to communicate honesty and openness. It's like saying, see, nothing to hide.
So hiding hands is suspicious.
It can be perceived that way, yes. Hands hidden in pockets or behind the back. It makes the audience or the person you're talking to instinctively feel a bit uneasy, harder to trust.
What about fidgety hands? Just random movements.
Randomly throwing hands around can suggest anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, losing control. And one specific gesture to watch for is interlocked fingers.
Interlocked fingers, what does that mean?
It often signals attentiveness, like they're listening closely, but it also carries an undercurrent of uneasiness or anxiety. It can be a subconscious self-soothing or restraining gesture, a coping mechanism.
Fascinating. Okay, now we're getting into the more advanced stuff. It's not just seeing the gesture, but understanding the why behind it.
Exactly. To really read people effectively, you need to understand their underlying motivations. And the material brings in Maslow's hierarchy of needs as a useful framework for this.
Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, refresh us on that quickly.
Sure. It's a model of human motivation arranged like a pyramid. You start at the bottom with the most basic physiological needs: air, food, water, shelter, survival stuff.
Right, the basics.
Once those are met, you move up to safety needs: security, stability, order, freedom from fear.
Then comes
Social belonging: the need for friendship, intimacy, family, connection, feeling part of a group.
Okay, and above that is esteem. The sources mentioned two types here, which is interesting.
Yes. There's lower esteem, which is about getting respect from others, status, recognition, reputation. And then there's higher esteem, which comes from within self-respect, competence, mastery, independence.
And the top of the pyramid.
Self-actualization, reaching your full potential, becoming everything you're capable of being.
So how does knowing Maslow's hierarchy help us decode body language? Give us an example.
Okay, imagine you're talking to someone who's up for a big promotion, something with a lot of status attached that hits their lower esteem need, right? Recognition from others.
Got it.
Now, maybe they're verbally bragging a lot about their past achievements, sounding super confident, but non-verbally. Their arms are crossed tightly, maybe they're fidgeting, shifting their weight. Signs of anxiety, which relate more to, say, safety needs.
So there's a disconnect.
Exactly. The insight is they might be desperately seeking that esteem validation because a more fundamental need, maybe job security, financial stability, basic safety, feels threatened or unmet. The nonverbal cues are betraying the underlying insecurity that the confident talk is trying to mask.
That's brilliant. Connecting the visible behavior to the hidden, unmet need. Okay, let's flip this. What if we want to control our own body language? to project calm when we're not feeling it. The sources mention neuro-linguistic programming, NLP.
Right, NLP, developed back in the 70s by Bandler and Grinder. The idea is that since our subconscious mind largely controls our automatic body language, NLP provides tools to sort of bridge the gap between the conscious and subconscious to gain more conscious control.
What kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, there's content reframing. That's about consciously changing the meaning you assign to a negative situation. Say you got some tough feedback at work. Instead of seeing it as failure, you actively reframe it as, okay, this is useful data, a roadmap for improvement.
And changing the internal story changes the external signals. Makes you seem less defensive, more composed.
That's the goal, yes. Then there are perceptual positions, basically. Practicing putting yourself in someone else's shoes, understanding their perspective. Building that empathy can actually relax your own defensive postures.
That makes sense. Understanding reduces threat.
And anchoring is a really practical one. You consciously associate a desired positive feeling like calm or confidence with a simple, discrete physical action, like touching your thumb and forefinger together. Then, when you need that feeling, you perform the anchor to trigger the state.
Like a little mental shortcut.
Yeah.
But for immediate, right here, right now, calm, the sources really emphasize breathing.
Oh, absolutely. Breath control is fundamental. The material highlights a specific, simple technique. Breathing in for a count of 3, and then breathing out slowly for a count of 5.
In for 3, out for 5. Why that pattern?
That longer exhale helps stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. It's proven to decrease stress hormones, lower your heart rate, improve focus. It gives you that physical baseline of calm needed to then consciously manage your other nonverbal signals, to fake it till you make it.
Yes, the fake it till you make it section. So if we need to project calm or confidence when we're feeling, say, anxious or insecure, what are the key practical steps from the sources?
Control the face, first and foremost. Practice keeping your eyebrows steady. They often shoot up involuntarily when we're surprised or stressed. Avoid the fake smile. Often just keeping your mouth neutral or straight is better than forcing a smile that doesn't reach the eyes.
Okay, no forced smiles. What else?
Consciously try to relax your facial muscles. And actively support your head. Don't let it droop, which can signal sadness or fatigue, even if you don't feel it. Avoid fidgeting. Keep movements purposeful.
And if you have to speak while you're trying to hide your true feelings, the voice is key.
Yeah, absolutely. The main technique is aiming for balance. Speak slowly, deliberately, stick to the facts as much as possible, and consciously try to strip out the emotional tone from your voice, keep it level, measured. That prevents your paraverbal cues from giving away what your face and body might be trying to conceal.
Wow. Okay, this has been an incredibly detailed deep dive into so many layers of communication. Let's try and boil it down. What are the top, say, 3 takeaways our listeners really need to remember?
Okay, 3 key rules. First, context is king. Always, always interpret any cue, a smile, a gesture, a tone of voice within the specific situation and cultural background, never in isolation.
Got it. Context first. Second.
Look for clusters. Never base a judgment on one single thing, like just crossed arms or just looking away. Check the feet, the hands, the eyes, the voice. Look for multiple signals pointing in the same direction before drawing a conclusion.
Makes sense. Don't jump to conclusions based on one sign. And the third key takeaway.
Trust the negative. This is probably the most reliable rule of thumb we found. When you get mixed signals, the words say happy, but the face shows anxiety. Trust that flash of negative emotion. It's almost always the more genuine, less guarded signal.
Context, clusters, and trust the negative. Excellent summary. Now, we've spent all this time talking about decoding other people, but what happens when you start applying these tools to your own interactions? Which leads to the final provocative thought from the sources.
Yes, the sideways looking up smile.
Tell us about that one.
It's described as this sort of coy, almost childlike glance upwards from under the eyelashes, often with a slight head tilt, famously used by Princess Diana, and you see it sometimes with Prince William, too.
And it's not just a happy smile.
Apparently not entirely spontaneous. The sources suggest it's a learned social cue, quite calculated, designed to make the person seem slightly vulnerable, appealing. It supposedly triggers a sort of parental, protective instinct in the viewer. It captivates hearts quite effectively.
Wow. So the final question for you, the listener, to ponder is this. How much of our most effective communication, the kind that really connects and influences people, is actually raw, spontaneous emotion, and how much might be based on these carefully learned, perhaps even calculated social cues? Something to observe out there in the wild.